League's most hated champions. My money on Teemo, but then we realize that we have Yuumi. So now the question remains, who is going to be the most hated champion?
Okay, given the nature of this video, I obviously need to make a big disclaimer that any criticisms towards champions are not directed towards any specific person or group of people. I understand it may come off as a personal attack and would just like to clarify, the point of this video is not to trash on your main, rather to give a neutral explanation for the community's negative opinion of them.
It's going to be very polite, chat. It is our job to trash the shit out of the champion and the players. That's what we do.
And because I'm anticipating the comment section to get a little contentious, please be nice, everyone. It's just a game at the end of the day. It's all in good fun. So with that...
League of Legends fun? No, never happening. Have you played League of Legends in the past 10 years? No, 10 years, yeah. Okay, 10 years ago, the Season 3, it was fun. Okay, granted, Season 3 was fun. But now, have you played the game now? Now it's not fucking fun.
Cleared up. Hope you enjoy the video. Every video game with a competitive scene has an implicit, or in some cases explicit bias against a character, weapon, battlefield, or strategy, and it's usually due in part to the game element doing one of four things. 1. Achieving a disproportionately favorable outcome relative to the amount of effort or skill needed. Most people know this as cheesing.
Yeah, just pick Mastery, Lethal Tempo, win the game, simple as that.
2. Creating or forcing a situation in which neither party can conventionally advance the game state, or in layman's terms, stalling or camping. 3. Having a playstyle that cannot compromise or adapt, which often results in polarized outcomes that can negatively affect your own team. Or 4.
Number 3 straight up goes to Baus.
Lacking any conventional form of counterplay. By counterplay, I'm specifically referring to being able to overpower something through skill.
Veigar and his outplay button.
While the ideal goal is to create a game in which everything is fair, everything feels good to play and play against, there's bound to be some people who find something very frustrating or annoying. League of Legends is no different. The game is notorious for having groups of players actively voice a disdain.
Hold on, what's this? What the fuck is this? My solo queue teammates and League Twitter telling me to get cancelled for playing Yuumi. Me. Haha, zoomies go brrr. But it's actually true, bro. Tell me what you want, it's actually fucking true. Lord knows I despise Yuumi.
And contempt towards a champion, item, or even role. Heaven knows the mental warfare between junglers and laners, jungle diff, and all that. There are so many champions in League of Legends that draw the ire of players, and while everyone is entitled to their own biases, there exists a few that draw quite an infamous reputation in the community, and so I wanted to talk about them to explain just what about them paints a not-so-friendly picture. To do that, I think I should lay some groundwork like I normally do and explain the opposite end of the spectrum. What's a champion that everyone has a relatively positive or neutral opinion of? That way,
a positive champion. Who can be a positive champion? I'd say a good Taric support. Braum. Yeah, Braum. My bad. I was in that region. I was close, chat. I was close.
Way we can look at them and figure out what they have that hated champions lack, and vice versa. I think the best example I can think of would be Jarvan IV. Now, before you go into the comment section telling me how much you hate Jarvan, remember we're talking about general overall opinion. He's one of those champions that definitely brings a lot to the table, but isn't overly a terror to go up against either. He has a very explosive engage even among his diver peers, but doesn't have the 1v9 death machine properties that some other divers might like Diana, Camille, and Irelia.
True that, yeah. Now that if we're actually comparing, I'm missing Gwen as well in here. In this scenario, I'm also missing Gwen.
What I think makes him a well-liked champion to have on your team and a respected choice by the enemy team is that he's very honest at what he does, and while his abilities are all pretty basic in function, practically speaking they're exactly what you would want and expect out of a diver. Someone who starts fights by closing distances quickly and forcing enemies to deal with their presence. He's got one of the best dash knockups in the game through Demacian Standard and Dragon Strike since it's got a range of 850 and is an AoE knockup using his character model as a hitbox. Actually, I believe that makes it the only one of its kind. In exchange, he has to use two abilities for this.
I would say Ornn. Ornn is a second champion who can do that. Granted, Ornn needs to have a terrain, but he's creating a volcano with the terrain. So I would say the same shenanigans.
Also, I think what sets him apart from another diver like Hecarim is that after he burdens his engage, he doesn't have the highest damage output since all he can really do is auto attack.
Sure. If you're going with the meta build. Sure, if you're going with the bruiser tank build. But what if I told you AD Jarvan has one of the highest AD scalings in the game? That's why we built Duskblade. That's why we built Infinity Edge. That's why we built Collector. And that's why you EQ. Squishies are dead. If it's a bruiser, EQ ultimate. The squishies, anyone else is dead.
Very fair, good at his job, but doesn't exactly feel like someone who cheats you out of a free win. He doesn't have a degenerate playstyle or any real cheese mechanics.
Okay, yeah, he doesn't have a degenerate. He does. If I'm playing him, he has a degenerate playstyle. Chat, let's just keep it real.
He goes full damage, he's super squishy, and if he goes full tank, he doesn't hurt that much. Typically, every quote-unquote hated champion has one particular thing about them that triggers one of the 4 things I mentioned at the start of the video. I think the best way to go about this would be to bring up a few champions from each role. So let's begin with top lane and work our way down to support.
Okay.
Bear in mind I can only cover maybe 2 per role just for the sake of time. Riven's a good place to start. Despite being released way back in 2011, some argue she's got just as much of an overloaded kit as newer champions like Gwen. Probably what many people don't like about her is how ridiculously good her rushdown potential is. Being a champion that doesn't have mana, she doesn't have to worry about resource management, and it also means stacking cooldown reduction on her has only positive benefits. A common weakness shared by skirmishers is their poor target selection, as most if not all their attacks are single target, and any area of effect they do have may not compare to that of fighters or mages. Kayn and Gwen sort of come close, but Riven can handle teamfights just as easily as she can handle skirmishes, due in part to all her damaging moves being AoE, and having.
But see, when we're talking about Riven, Riven is a high skill, high reward champion. The more you spend time on her, the more you learn her, the more skills you get, the more rewards you get. Just give Riven to someone who has never played Riven, and that Riven is going 0-20 easily. Give that Riven, give the same Riven to someone who has played Riven for 50 games. Sure, he's going to perform, but his score is going to be 1-7. Give Riven to someone who played thousands of games on her. And that shit is out of control. Everyone is crying, everyone is asking for Riven to be nerfed. Simple as that.
Having a particularly wide range, especially after she uses her ultimate. Conversely, she has one of the worst disadvantages in the game, especially since the bulk of both her offense and defense rely on mobility, meaning rooting her is practically the same as a stun. Against a champion with equal or better aggression than her, she can easily be overwhelmed for the rest of the game, which is why you almost never see Rivens perform at an average level. They either hard 1v9 or run it down.
That's exactly what I said.
It's this performance inconsistency that creates situations where enemy Rivens can be the ultimate destructive force of destiny, while you kind of forget that you even have a top laner on yours. She has strong dueling power while also the potential to double as a diver, but her volatile playstyle makes her unreliable as an ally and unpredictable as an enemy. Another top laner most people don't like is Fiora.
I'm still back into the idea of solo queue. We're talking about solo queue. Of course you don't have to be reliable. Bro, in solo queue you rely only upon yourself. Simple as that. Sure, in the higher elos, and I mean Grandmaster Plus, you may want to have a bit of a synergy with the team. You can still 1v9 that shit. Not as easily as in Bronze, but still you rely upon yourself. That's why we're going with the 1v9 champion, simple as that.
Fiora is an extremely annoying matchup in top lane because she's specialized as a duelist.
If you don't believe me, bro, what's his name? Cenarius. I feel like his name is Cenarius. Check out Cenarius. What my guy did is he took Pepega champion. He took Mastery. And he went to every single region. And he got Challenger rank 1 in every single region by playing Mastery. Because that's a 1v9 champ. Simple as that. He was not relying on his team. He was relying on himself.
Everyone knows her.
Cowsep, not Cowsep, Cenarius. I feel like I saw him on TikTok. No. Cowsep, yeah, Cowsep is stuck in Korea. He's Mastery in Korea, and everyone hates him in Korea because he's playing Mastery, and Korea is all about that meta. If Mastery is not meta, everyone hates you. Simple as that. But Cenarius, he's just playing Mastery every single region. He just dominates them. Calls it a day. GG easy. Elemental XD. Simple as that.
Her gimmick is percent max health true damage, just like Vayne. But unlike Vayne, she can proc multiple instances of true damage in far less time thanks to her ultimate, and because she scales much better at it, she can also be a lot harder to kill since she can purchase defensive itemization. In other words, building any form of protection against her is almost pointless because of this. The tools in a kit practically invalidate 75% of all top laners. Tanks may be able to survive lane by building Bramble Vest and relying on their base damage, but towards the mid to late game they're going to be shredded to pieces. Fighters can potentially go toe-to-toe with her since they usually carry higher damage, but a single mistake can lead to a game where she's practically unbeatable in a 1v1 setting.
Yeah, this is simple. You mess up and she reposts you, that's it. There's literally, you're done. You're done. Just a free stun for Fiora.
Consequently, the only top laners who can consistently hold their own against her without being super stressful are those who can output damage very safely from a distance, like Kennen, Vladimir, Malphite, etc., none of whom have very enjoyable playstyles themselves.
What do you mean not enjoyable playstyles? Malphite, full ability Malphite is very fun. Pikachu was fun in Season 7. Yeah, Vlad, I mean, Vlad has always been historically a cancer champion to play against. He is fun, yeah, but he's not as mobile, not my preference.
Moreover, a good Fiora will likely split push all game and force you to keep matching her even though you can't win. All in all, she just puts her enemy top laner in a very uncomfortable position through no real virtue other than just being Fiora. Onto the jungle, Shaco. There's literally only one reason people don't like him. Actually no, there's a lot of reasons people don't like him. Even though jungle is filled with cheesy gimmicky champions.
That's, I mean, granted, okay, when it comes down to jungle, literally everyone hates Shaco.
To a lot of players, Shaco feels like he was designed to be irritating to deal with. Being modeled after a gesture clown, he's all about being tricky and annoying. Instant blink stealth that allows him to both get into fights and escape from them. This makes him not only really difficult to catch with that instant crowd control, but also allows him to pull off a lot of ganks and flanks that no other champion can because control words don't work against invisibility. But arguably, what bothers people more is his W and ultimate, which are both incredible disruption and zoning tools that can screw over a lot of champions. That being said, I feel like he's a bit of a special case because, again, I think Riot was deliberately trying to make him the annoying bastard that he is.
Yeah, but with Shaco, see, the thing is, with Shaco, it's the same as with LeBlanc. High risk, high reward. If you fall behind, that's it. You don't exist in the game. You have to stay consistent with Shaco. You have to stay relevant, or ideally, you may want to go get ahead in the game. This is why every single Shaco statistically is invading. Because you want to stay ahead in comparison to your enemy. Because if you fall behind, that's it. The game is over. Shaco's got a hard late game. What do you mean? If you go ability power, Shaco just place the box, set the clone, that's it. Squishies are dead.
Thematically speaking, they did a great job, but that doesn't stop a bunch of players from hating him. Master Yi is very much like Riven in that he's one of the most difficult champions to deal with in fights if he gets a good engage because he just spams Q and two-shots everyone while being literally untargetable the entire time. Alternatively, he can get his ass beat and you'll be stuck with a 4v5 for the rest of the game. A redeeming quality of Riven is that she fits into just about any team composition, which is a big deal. Master Yi sort of puts his team in a situation where, hey, I'm the main character of the anime, so the four of you are just supports. Team composition is usually what determines his performance, hence why the Yi Terra Gold funnel strategy was so annoying to deal with because—
Oh, that was cancer, bro. Chat, do you remember the strategy when Yi and Tarek funnel strategy existed? Lord knows that was cringe.
Tarek basically covered all of his weaknesses and made him a trillion times harder to deal with. Basically, Master Yi is Riven, but with twice as much you to the enemy team and his own.
Bro.
Now onto the mid lane. Let's talk about some very hated ones. First with A.K.A. In my video of her, I talked about how assassins are usually countered by skirmishers and fighters since they can survive the initial burst from most assassins and they have far more DPS. A.K.A. is one of the few assassins in the game who has both burst and DPS in high quantities. And since skirmishers and fighters are generally very dependent on auto attacks, she can kite them all out with her smoky donut and hit and run tactics. Now, is she this super unbeatable 1v1 master FF15? Not necessarily, but the experience of going against her can be insanely frustrating because for some champions, it's the equivalent of trying to catch a wasp with a pair of chopsticks while the wasp is really angry at you. If A.K.A. gets fed, there's basically no chance the ADC or mid laner ever gets to play the game.
Actually true.
Yasuo is a very clear case of issue number 4, where he straight up completely shuts down any projectile users like AD carries due to wind wall. And no matter what those projectile users try to do, there's absolutely nothing they can do about wind wall.
Yeah, trying to catch a wasp and wasp is very angry. I'm not sure if he's going to mention in this video, but LeBlanc. Same principle can be applied, bro. LeBlanc plus LeBlanc has way more potential for jukes than A.K.A.
Outside of that, it's a combination of him having incredible teamfight potential and high damage, as well as the same feast or famine anime main character syndrome. In a similar fashion to Fiora, Yasuo is one of those champions where if you start to ignore him and let him farm up or get a couple shutdowns, he miraculously starts destroying you. Also,
No, he just needs 2 items, simple as that. The moment Yasuo gets 2 items, you have to respect him. Doesn't matter, he's 0-20, he gets 2 items, you need to respect him.
also known as the famous 10 death power spike.
Yep.
He's mechanically much harder to execute than most feast or famine champions, which does further widen the discrepancy between a good and a bad one. The bot lane only has really one champion.
That's it, we're not going to talk about mid lane anymore. So only A.K.A and Yasuo? I was actually expecting to see Malzahar. Was expecting to see LeBlanc in there, but okay.
That I think is widely disliked, which is Vayne. Just about every other marksman in the game does a lot of AoE damage. Jinx, Twitch, Sivir, Samira, so on and so forth. And the ones who are single target usually have very far attack range, such as Caitlyn, Kog'Maw, and Jhin. Vayne has neither range nor AoE. What she does have is damage. Lots and lots of damage. If played properly, Vayne has the potential to completely 1v9 games. But at one point or another, you probably have heard of the term Vayne spotting. Vayne spotting is when a Vayne player is thirsty for Reddit karma and flashes in 1v5 into the enemy team because they want to assassinate the enemy ADC only to get locked down and exploded in half a second, and then you lose the game. Vayne
That is completely normal phenomenon in lower elos. Vayne spotting is just champion spotting. You play middle Syndra, you flash in. You play top Riven, you flash in. You play Lolo ADC, you flash in because you need that kill. Of course you're gonna get killed. Everyone is laughing at you and your team is blaming you. So understandable, it is what it is
quite possibly the best AD carry at playing front to back because she melts tanks harder than any other. But because her kit has so much outplay potential, players just can't resist the urge to go in, though it is a welcome sight whenever Vayne does play a proper front to back and she gets a pentakill.
Oh yeah, true that. A good Vayne player is beautiful sight seeing. But now I'm thinking, bro, when it comes down to most heated champions in the bot lane, I would say it's more of a dependable on the items that are currently OP. If there are items favoring, let's say, Senna, of course Senna is going to be OP and the cancer to deal with. If there are items in the current meta that are strong that are favoring Vayne, of course Vayne is going to be cancer to deal with.
And now we wrap up with support. I'll go with Seraphine first. She's sort of an anomaly. Contrary to popular belief, I'd wager most people don't actually dislike her in terms of gameplay. Was she really strong when she came out? Yeah, but numbers can change at a moment's notice. Her kit overall is not what gives her a bad rap, it's just that she's a blatant marketing ploy used by Riot to advertise KDA.
And also the fact that she has a bazillion CCs and she's shooting you from the other side of the map. Same goes for Senna, by the way.
Something else that contributes to that is they created a social media profile where Seraphine was sort of the actual character or persona.
Yeah, during those years, what marketing people at Riot did is one of them, the head of marketing, was a bit of a simp. My guy went on the internet, and on the internet he found Belle Delphine. And he said, you know, Riot, you know what we need? As a head marketing guy, I know what we need. We need to focus, we need to monetize on the sims. Is there an easier way to monetize on sims than taking what's already working? Belle Delphine is working. Yeah, I mean, she works, she's making a fuck ton of money. There are a lot of hungry sims who are paying mad money on her OnlyFans. How about we do exactly the same thing in here? Thus, they created Belle Delphine in League of Legends. Enter Seraphine, simple as that.
And she talked about struggling with mental health in an attempt to be relatable. But many people took that in the complete opposite way because she's a made-up character. Ordinarily, a fictitious character who has self-esteem issues and anxiety is perfectly fine and can allow viewers and readers to become more drawn to their character, their development, and their story. But why that didn't work for Seraphine is because they pretended like she's a real person. I'm being serious. There was a tweet where she straight up asked her followers to give her words of encouragement like she was a sentient, tangible human being.
Because someone was role-playing her. The Twitter, whoever was curating that Twitter was straight up role-playing Seraphine.
Needless to say, there was a lot of controversy with this champion, but most of the hate from her stems from why she was added to the game in the first place, not necessarily as a champion in-game. If we talk about like going against her, you know, playing against her in lane or in team fights, she's just like any other mage or enchanter. I don't think people...
Not any mage or enchanter. She was Sona version 2. The moment they released her, she was Sona version 2. It was that simple.
People really bang their head on the keyboard, thinking, oh my goodness, this champion is super annoying to deal with. Seraphine has much of the strengths you would expect from, you know, a burst mage, and much of the same weaknesses of one. I don't think she's really that big of a deal gameplay-wise. Yumi, on the other hand, oh ho ho ho, I'm pissed.
Let's just not talk about Yumi. No, let's just not talk about Yumi. How about we just skip this section? We all know Yumi existed. Everyone hates Yumi. Let's remove Yumi. Simple as that.
Baby. AD carries hate Yumi for the same reasons they hate Bard, because she exerts almost non-existent pressure for her teammate. Good Yumi players are able to alleviate their partner's stress to a mild degree, while bad Yumi players essentially mean you have to play 4v5 for the first 15 minutes of the game.
No, you have to play the rest of the entire game 4v5, not the first 15 minutes.
Fortunately, if you do get past that point, then Yumi can turn pretty much any bruiser or skirmisher from a 1v9 death machine to a 1v999 death machine. And then we flip it over to the enemy team. It's incredibly silly how Yumi is essentially Sona and Soraka combined that's attached to a carry while also practically doubling their stats.
Yep.
There's no other...
Well, at least with the latest adjustments to Yumi, they removed the fact that Yumi is adjusting the stats. At least they did that thing correct. Kinda sad, because I did enjoy having Yumi on my team whenever I'm going for ability power build. So let's just say one of my videos, I feel like, yeah, I have a video on YouTube of playing Teemo and I had Yumi who had 4 Infernal Drakes. I went full ability power. I had 14,000 ability power as a Teemo, not Veigar, Teemo. So, you know, sadly we cannot recreate that anymore. But yeah, that shit was borderline unbalanced.
Enchanter support who's capable of augmenting her allies the way Yumi can, not even Lulu. She provides them with a shield, heal, movement speed buff, attack speed buff, bonus attack damage and ability power, that's the important part. A long range slow, long range root, what more can you ask for? The conventional way to counter enchanters is to focus them down quickly because they're super squishy and usually immobile, which means they have to be very careful to not miss position. But Yumi doesn't even have that weakness because she's untargetable. Technically, yes, if you kill her companion, it means a free double kill since Yumi can't do anything on her own, but if she puts herself on an Aatrox,
unless there's another ally close by and Yumi just jumps on that ally,
Set, Darius, or some super beefy bruiser, you're gonna be up a creek without a paddle. Simply put, Yumi is the living embodiment of the first clause. She gives so much value to her team without facing the constant dangers that other enchanters do.
Also, speaking of cancer like Yumi, I just realized we didn't talk about Teemo in topside. Hello? Why did we miss Teemo in topside?
She does have to detach an auto attack to get her passive mana and shield, but unless you mistime it and get hit by any crowd control, you can just detach, auto attack, and reattach. Oh my god, when this champion first came out, she was the absolute most rage-inducing support in the entire game.
Bro.
Oh, and Zoe. Yeah.
A child.
Yeah, can we not talk about her? I don't think it's even worth giving her the slightest bit of attention.
What do you mean? What do you mean not give us... No. We have to talk about Zoe. I know it, you know it. As a Jax mains in this chat, we need to talk about Zoe.
Okay, so now that I spent like, what, 15 minutes talking about some popular hated
He's actually ignoring Zoe. Why?
champions, let's wrap up the video by talking about their presence in the game and to address the burning question, should they be removed?
No.
Let me answer that first.
Well,
no,
Yumi, yes.
No champion should be removed from the game.
Yeah, but why did we remove Aatrox? Why did we remove Yorick? Why did we remove LeBlanc? They're all LeBlanc with the silence. Why did we remove Yumi? No, I take it back. I am fine with removing Yumi. Fuck Yumi. But my point stands. We removed OG Yorick. We removed OG Aatrox. That was finally got balanced. That was fucking OP as fuck. What happened in there?
While there might be the vocal minority who argue that the game has deteriorated in quality because of Riven, Yasuo, Akali, and so on, deleting them is not the way to go. For better and worse, every hated champion does something for the game. They create a whole new series of interactions, synergies,
We lost Mordecai's. Exactly, we lost Mordecai's.
matchups,
Yeah.
and whatnot that further expand on League of Legends as we know it. In a sense, they're a necessary evil to have. If everyone was like Jarvan IV or Garen, the game would honestly be pretty boring. It's the inclusion
What do you mean pretty boring? It would be fun because then people would be forced into experimenting with questionable builds of meta builds to make the game interesting. I'm at that point already where I'm done with the game, so I'm trolling with the builds, and those builds are fucking fun.
Inclusion of these champions that make League the game that we all know and... I was gonna say know and love, but we don't exactly love the game. You get what I mean. Would top laners know the satisfaction of absolute invincibility if Yuumi never came out? Would we see crazy Reddit montages without Yasuo, Vayne, etc.? Not to mention all the content creators and streamers we had over the years showing us what these champions can really pull off. No, we wouldn't. Now, are they good for the game's health? It depends. Their inclusion may be necessary, but not in all cases positive. However, some people might argue that these champions cause neither benefit nor harm to the game, that Fiora and Riven are no different from Sion and Maokai. That's a valid point. No matter the circumstances,
Not different from Sion. Sion got nerfed 20 times in a row, thanks to one streamer. Yeah, because Sion was definitely balanced. Because Sion was healthy to the game. Just saying.
That's a valid point. No matter the circumstances, it comes down to how well the player pilots that champion and how well they're able to fight against it. If I can name at least one redeeming quality about these quote-unquote hated champions, it's that they challenge people to be adaptable, making them better players in the long run. Even though one-tricks are still a very prevalent phenomenon today, it was much more pervasive in past seasons. Some of these hated champions are old and some are new. But they, and by extension any champion that gives players frustration, ultimately makes the community better in terms of skill.
Clarify better in the sense that they have to actually expand their champion pools to deal with these situations and not one trick their way to high elo. But that's still what people do. Yeah, I remember when Red Kayn was your free ticket to Diamond Plus. You could have easily received Diamond Plus. It doesn't matter if your skill level was at Bronze or Silver. All you had to do was play Red Kayn. Because, bro, I don't remember which item, but with Ravenous Hunter. Yeah, we still had Ravenous Hunter rune. That Kayn was immortal. It doesn't matter who you play against, there was just no counter to that. Yeah, it was also the moment they nerfed the shit of Grievous Wounds. They nerfed the shit of anti-heal. And Kayn was straight up, Red Kayn was straight up immortal. So, you know, if you're chilling against low silver, high bronze, mid bronze, doesn't matter. Pick Red Kayn, enjoy your train to Diamond.
Normally, the easiest way to beat an assassin is to pick up any Juggernaut or Bruiser since they can usually all rip them to shreds, but A.K.A. is an assassin who can actually contend with fighters. The easiest way to counter enchanters is with hard engage, but Yuumi is an enchanter who is safe from engage. The easiest way to beat AD carries are tanks, but Vayne can counter tanks. You no longer have a get out of jail free card against a certain subclass. It no longer becomes a contest of rock paper scissors, but of actual execution of skill. None of these hated champions push League of Legends in such a way that negatively impacts the game's condition. Even AD carries against Yasuo. If anything, they're just annoying to deal with, but they're annoying to deal with for players who don't adapt to them. Like I said, they're a necessary evil of sorts, kinda like vegetables. They may not taste great, and some people will despise them for as long as they...
What do you mean vegetables did not taste great? What the fuck is wrong with you? Vegetables taste amazing. Especially if you make juice out of them. Tomato juice, the best.
Live, but they're necessary for the game to some extent. With that said, I hate all of these champions and wish I never would see them again, but I don't think the game would be as addictive as it was if not for them. It definitely feels satisfying to squash cocky Yasuo mains if nothing else. What do you guys think about hated champions? Do you think people are overreacting about them, or do you think they're perfectly justified?
Absolutely perfectly justified. Also, it depends on the meta, also depends on what's popular, what items are fucking OP. But absolutely fucking justified.
If you had the option to remove them or maybe find some way to make them not so hated, what would you do? Oh,
I mean, this is literally what we did. We removed Yuumi. We as a community, we bitched so loud about Yuumi that they fucking removed her. God bless. God bless. You know?
I should also mention that I will be moderating this video very, very closely. I'm not going to tolerate any form of personal bigotry or hate or slandering towards any specific person. Let's be civil about this. It's just a game. I don't care how much you hate Kha'Zix, it's not enough to wish death upon another person.
But did you play League of Legends, bro? No. That's Casual Tuesday. Not because he's playing Kha'Zix, it's Casual Tuesday. This kind of, yeah, this is justified. Welcome to League of Legends. Bro, what's going on?
Okay, Good talk.
No.
But if you enjoyed the video, a rating would be much appreciated, and if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subbing to the channel. Also, check out the description down below for links to my Discord and social media, as well as a playlist containing all my discussion videos if you want to watch more. But that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Take care.
Nice. Okay, I missed a few champions in here. I missed Malzahar in the middle. I missed LeBlanc in the middle. I missed Timo from topside. There was a moment when I genuinely hated playing against Joanne in jungle. That thing was cancer. Ilawe, yeah, Ilawe in general. Ilawe in general. Yeah, straight up. You need 1v2 against her. And that's what she needs. And that's what she wants. You go 1v2 against Ilawe, that's an easy game. She's getting a double kill. Jungle. What else do we have in the jungle that's kind of cancer, chat? Shaco, we haven't mentioned Shaco. Lee Sin in his prime, I would say that was cancer as well. I mean, those champions that snowball hard. William, no, Cash's favorite, no. Tank, no was absolute cringe. Back in my day, no, Tank was absolute cringe. You couldn't do shit to him. Even if your team, even if your laners are coming to help you, there's nothing you can do. Cancer in jungle, Rengar, yeah, Rengar, Lee Sin, Kha'Zix, the solo hunters. Good Nidalee. He snowballs, literally, exactly. Good Nidalee was disgusting. Rengar is still disgusting. At this point, at this moment, Rengar is S+ tier, to my knowledge. Who's is not cancer? Jarvan, Manka, Diana, but granted, Diana was also, at one point, she was pure cancer. Echo, is Jhin cancer? No, Jhin is a good ADC. Matter of fact, Jhin is a good ADC. Do you remember Echo release? I remember Lissandra's release. I remember Zack's release. Bro, I remember every single release. We had champion loading screens. Not loading, login screens. Oh my god, those were the days. Anyway, I feel like we're missing a few champions here. Just saying. Anyway, that's the video.